on. Okay.
Oh yeah, hopefully the fan sounds aren't too bad because I had to turn off the main one. So I'm just gonna start sweating profusely.
Oh my gosh, I'm really
You
sorry.
don't have to see if I'm okay.
You don't have to ask if I pass out. You know.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, just be like, so that's how the beauty of art is. It can transform you to unconsciousness.
It's just for you. Oh my gosh.
Alrighty. Well, hello everyone out there in the interwebs. I'm Angie of Bobo Design Studio, and I'm so excited to have my friend Eunice. Eunice, you can find her online at Electric Eunice. Is that correct? There's no dots in there. There's no hidden underscores.
No hieroglyphics.
No hieroglyphics, which is a shame because that would be a really cool thing if you could do that. But I am so excited to have you here. Thank you for coming.
I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
So I'll include all of her info in the thingy. So, go give her a follow. We're going to learn more about Eunice along the way, but I'm really excited because if you got the box, which you probably did, or you follow Eunice and you're getting to see this video somewhere on the interwebs, she included in April's box a limited print that's just, as far as I know, pretty much only found here. And if it's found elsewhere, it's fraudulent.
It's definitely fraud.
And it's printed on stone with gold. It's not, but it should be because it's so beautiful. And I have seen Eunice do kind of lunar themed paintings before. She is an incredible watercolor artist, and we'll talk a little bit more about that as we move forward. But when I came up with the theme for this month's box, which was Celestial Celebrations, I absolutely wanted to have Eunice be a part of it. So I'm super honored, very grateful that you're here. I know time is precious for you because you've got a little baby, and you've got a little baby.
You got babies too.
My babies won't ask me for money to go on dates. They won't ask for a car.
Are you sure?
As far as I know, I mean, they're just stealing money out of my purse, and then using it to buy kibble and and balls. So it's very different. You have a human baby. My babies just lick themselves on the bed all day and then sleep and pant. So they're dogs. I feel like I should have said that.
Yeah. Okay. They are babies.
Angie, keep it together. Okay. Anyhow, Eunice is going to walk us through. She is also an educator and a workshop teacher, and she can help anybody create something beautiful. As most of you guys know, I'm actually not very confident in my watercolor skills. So we're actually going to make this or a version of this print today using the materials in your kit. And yeah, I think I'm ready.
You ready?
I think so.
You're ready. And let me just say, you're very good at watercolor. I just want to throw that out. You're underestimating yourself.
Thanks. I'm just learning. I'm a control freak and I don't know how to control it. So I put ink or pigment on the paper and it doesn't do what I want it to do. And I'm like, do I have to take you out to dinner first to do what does it take? But I'm hoping you can be the watercolor whisperer and show me your ways. So why don't you kind of get us situated with the materials, and then once we kind of get going, I'll interrupt you frequently to ask questions to learn more about you because you're amazing and I want everyone to know everything about you.
Oh, thank you. Well, I'm excited. Thank you. First, I'm honored to be here because Angie is amazing, and all of you already know that because obviously all of you know that. So so excited to do this moons and galaxy tutorial with you today, Angie. Best student ever. Yes. And so let's go over what we have here. Most of this you have in your box. So you have this beautiful white jelly roll pen. Then you have your gold. Then you have your watercolor brush. I have a round 4 from Princeton Heritage. Our pencil eraser. This is a really cool eraser. If you have not seen it before, it's by Tombow. It's a little rectangle. Get some little pieces. Love it. Washi tape, and then of course your pan of 3 paints. Hopefully you also have your piece of paper that is also included in your box, and then the extras to pull in are your jar with water and then paper towel.
Woo. And for those that got the kit, you'll have 2 not as nice brushes as Miss Eunice. So she's got a Princeton brush, which is like kind of a gold standard for brushes. I feel like that's like one of the most popular brands for watercolor artists, you know, beginner and advanced. But you know, we're ballers on a budget here at Bobo. So we actually just got kind of 2 not so great watercolor brushes, but it doesn't matter because we're still going to be able to create cool stuff. I don't want people out there thinking they have to have the nicest materials to achieve really cool stuff. So I'll be alternating between the 2 that you have in your kit. And then Eunice will be showing us what's up with the Princeton.
What's up? Love it. Yes. And I second that. I think that I know it can feel intimidating. There are a lot of different levels of art materials out there, ranging from budget friendly to not so budget friendly. And I want everyone to feel comfortable with what they have, because you can make anything. You can do anything with anything you have.
Yes, except sculpting Michelangelo out of stone. You can't do that with these tools.
No. You could try.
You could try, but it won't work.
Yes. So what I like for you to do, I like to set my water jar right on top of my paper towel. You're going to be using your paper towel to wipe your brush clean in between colors. So you kind of want it accessible to the water jar. Then you have your, oh, let me just get rid of my shedding hair. Sorry.
That's why my hair's up, because it would just, it would be a 3D thing.
Today we're painting hair. It's gonna be great. Yes. So yes, so only the hair on your brush should be on your table. So your brush, and then we're actually gonna have your your pencil and your eraser first.
Okay.
So yes, so we are painting a moon with a galaxy around it today. I want to show you a quick reference before we get started. So let me just quickly switch my camera so you can see the moon. Exhibit A, the moon. Can you see my mouse over the moon?
Yes.
Okay, fantastic. So this is the moon. If you've met her, awesome. You can see her every night.
Almost every night.
Almost, you're right, in different variations. And so what I want to point out here is when you look at the details, I really like this picture because it's high contrast, right? We're able to see really light areas as well as really dark areas. So these darker areas are called mare, and mare in Latin means seas. Plural is Maria. Oh, right. So this is basically, these darker areas are created by meteorite bombardment, and they're lower, right? Because there's volcanic eruptions, all these things going on. So they're a little bit lower, and that's why they're darker. And then everyone knows about craters, right? We all know what craters are.
I didn't know we were going to get a science lesson. I'm digging this.
Yeah.
So it's not made of cheese, is what?
You know, sometimes.
There's Gouda in there somewhere.
Yeah, in some cultures it's cake.
Oh, hey now.
Right?
I can
There's
subscribe to that.
Up there. And who knows? This time we're not painting it with a rabbit, maybe in the future. Yeah, so these darker areas are called mare, and craters. So craters, you know, that's meteorites and asteroids hit the moon. They don't have an atmosphere like the Earth does. So that's what all of these sort of like white circles are. It's where the moon's been hit. And then, you know, craters, it basically has created like a circle, it dips lower and there's a circle rim. So we're going to be painting some of those. And then this is what I like to call the belly button of the moon, but it's more so the bottom of the moon. I
call it the belly button too.
See? That's why we're friends.
I know.
Really friends. We know where the belly button's at. So I guess this is the biggest crater, maybe one of the bigger craters, right? And these lines, you guys see these lines that come out. So these are called ejecta. That's the debris that flies when the moon gets hit with meteorites and asteroids. So some of the things to note that we're going to paint today, We're going to be using only the black paint for the moon. So this is exciting.
Ooh.
I know we're going to learn a lot about what painting, pulling paint, color value just by painting with one color for the moon. So we're going to be getting these, I know, we're going to be getting these dark areas. We're going to be getting some of the lighter areas. We're going to be using negative space for the craters, and then we're going to use the white jelly pen for some of these lighter areas and also the ejecta. So excited.
I am so excited. First of all, I'm very excited because you talked already about a lot of things that I don't really know or that I'm good at, like negative color value. And there was another word in there and I was like, huh? So this will be so good. Okay, I'm ready.
Yes. Yes. So that we're going to dive right in because we're going to learn as we paint.
Yes.
So take your washi tape. Everyone always asks me what type of tape I use to tape off my borders. I use washi tape because, so painter's tape is great too, but painter's tape tends to pull the paper off as you're pulling the tape as well, right? Washi tape is the perfect level of adhesiveness. Please get some from Angie because they are so cute.
I mean, I am about to do a shameless plug and use my own washi. So,
girl,
I have a question regarding paper. So, everyone that got a piece of watercolor paper in the kit. Oh, wait, I'm just putting it along the top, right? I should have asked. This is me, ADHD, moving ahead.
No. I should have probably said.
You're a terrible
We're going to be
instructor.
doing it all across the border. I know. I'm so sorry. We're going to do it all. So 4 sides. We're going to do all across the border. And then what I'm doing is I'm not pressing really hard on the whole thing. I'm only pressing hard on these inner edges here. Right? So these inner edges is where the paint is going to touch the tape. And that's where we need it to definitely be stuck. And I say this because if you like, same as painter's tape or any other tape, if you press really hard, it may pull the paper up with it. So we don't want to do that for the whole piece of tape. We just want to do it for the inner side so that, you know, we're sealing the paper from where the paint will hit it. Okay, you can continue, Angie. Sorry.
Okay, good. I was always that kid that like was so impatient. I couldn't pay attention. So I was always like trying to get ahead. And of course, I'm like doing things wrong. And the teacher's trying to like get my attention and I'm not listening.
You're just taking the initiative. Okay.
So while we're taping right quick, tell me a little bit about how you got into watercolor.
Yeah. So I feel like I've been creative all my life. Like I loved art as a kid, and then like most people, you know, you grow up and then you go to school and that kind of just falls to the wayside. And I ended up in like 2014. I have a background in business marketing. I was working full time and I just didn't feel like I was using my creative juices. I felt like there was a calling for me, right? Outside of what I was doing. Yeah. And so I picked up lettering. I picked up pointed pen lettering. And that is really hard. I don't do it anymore because it's very hard. And that led me into brush lettering and watercolor lettering. Pointed pen is so pretty. I learned modern calligraphy, but I really wanted more color. And so it was great to transition into watercolors. I love blending colors in one word. That was, I feel like, really the gateway into the rest of the last couple of years. And so, yeah, once I got into that, then I really dove into learning watercolors. And I mean, painting botanicals was like my very favorite thing to do from the beginning. So that kind of is why I am the way I am now.
Oh, and we'll talk more about your botanicals in a minute because Miss Lang here knows a thing or two about painting botanicals. But okay, I'm taped up.
Taped up, ready to go. So
ready to go.
We're going to draw the circle now for your moon. And so you can do a couple things. You can use a compass. The compass is this, right? This little tool. I know I had to Google. I was like, I don't remember what this is called. The circle maker thingy, right? The official.
Protractor, compass
Yeah,
thing.
I wanted
Yeah.
to call it a protractor. I was like, that's a protractor, right? Not. So you can use that. You basically, if you were to use that, you want to use a ruler to get the very center of paper and then, you know, do the circle thingy from there. If you don't have something formal like that, use anything. Use the top of a mason jar. I'm going to use this spa candle lid because it's just the right size. I measured it. It's about 2.5 inches. If you find something that's not 2.5 inches circumference, is that the word? Math? That's okay.
I was not told that math would be a part of this.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay, well, it's nice. Thank you for having us, Eunice. I gotta go now.
Yeah. You're like, this session is over. First, you threw some like mood stuff, and then now you're speaking math, and that's not what we signed up for. Let's exit.
It's not cool. Okay.
Your contract is now.
Okay. I'm gonna freehand it because I don't have a beautiful lid like that. You know, for those that are watching this, it is early April and I'm still living out of the Airstream in the middle of the desert. So I'm kind of limited on things that I can carry on hand. And finding a lid was actually really hard. So I'll just sketch mine.
Yes. Do what you need to do. Cool. And all I did was just kind of eyeball where the center is and go from there. So you want to sketch really lightly too. We are going to, if you don't know, when you watercolor over pencil, you can't erase it. So I always try to sketch pretty lightly. I know. But in this case, you know, we're going to paint a galaxy around this moon. So don't feel, you know, too nervous about if your pencil line is a little darker than you want it to be.
Okay.
Yes.
Cool.
All right, cool. So you actually don't need your eraser because you did it. You did it. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to start by painting in this moon. So I mentioned earlier color value. So color value is the ratio between water and paint. And so the more water you have and the less paint you have, the more transparent the color will be, right? On the other side, it's if you have a ton of paint and a little bit of water, it'll be really opaque. So it won't be transparent. It'll be really dark. So we're going to be using, we're actually going to be doing both sides of the spectrum. We're going to be doing very light color values. So if you notice, we have black, we have blue, and we have pink. So we're actually going to be really painting in the moon as gray. So what I want you to do is get your brush and activate it. And so what that means is get your water jar and swirl it.
Okay.
Swirl it in there. And number one rule I have for painting with watercolors is never leave your brush in your jar like this, or else the bristles will bend and you can't, they won't bend back and it's not fun.
Oh, good to know. Because I've done that.
I have too. So if you're resting, rest your brush on top of your jar or on your table.
Okay.
So that you're not letting it rest this way. So go ahead and activate your brush. You can push it on the bottom of your jar in case you have like some glue on it. That if it's a brand new brush, sometimes they have glue to keep it stiff. And then what I want you to do is then put your brush back into your water so that it's like a dripping, water from the brush, and then head over to your black paint. And I want you to activate your paint. So you're just kind of, I'm like touching the very tip of my brush onto the dried paint blob. So I'm getting a little bit of color, right? You're kind of seeing the gray come out, and I want you to bring it over to the center mixing palette. So I'm getting a little bit more paint, pulling it to the center. You see it's really light. You can get a little bit more water and add it to the center of your palette. I mean, really, it's gonna look like this. It's like really light, very transparent. And then let's go back to our moon. And what I want you to do is actually clean off your brush.
Oh.
And we're going to utilize wet on wet right now. So clean off your brush so that your brush is wet.
Okay. So like I put it in the water.
Yeah, you put it in the water and then you swirl it around. There you go. And then I want you to bring it back to your paper. And I actually want you to line the top left of the moon with clean water.
The top
so
left.
That you're wetting your paper. Yeah, top left. So just like this. So I'm the very tip of my brush is following the outline of the moon, the circle. And so I'm kind of wetting this area, right? So this is what we call wet on wet. We're wet area so that the surface is wet. And then I want you to grab that gray paint. And
Like
all I want you
how
to
wet
do,
should it be? If the paper is drinking it, should there be more water?
it's okay. As long as just one thin layer of water is good.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
so once you do that, move quickly because you want it to stay wet, right? And go back and get your gray paint and then line where you just put that water down. Just use the very tip of your brush and line the edge of basically follow the line of where your moon is, right? Or where we just wet it. So it should be super light. Yeah. Super light. Great. And you want it to be blending in, right? You had already wet this area. So I actually want a little bit darker values. So I'm going to go back and get some more black and mix back to the center. And then I do the same thing because I want a little bit more color here. You see that? So it's kind of, it's starting to blend to the center a little bit because that's where I wet it. And then what I want you to do is dry your brush or clean your brush, sorry, get some water and then start pulling. So I'm putting my brush down where the paint is and I'm pulling more color to the center. So I'm like one of my circle at this point, not in a fashion, in like we're gonna be working from top left to bottom right.
Okay. Wow.
So I'm gonna get a little bit more color value. I know, wow. I'm gonna get a little more black. And then I want everybody to simply, I'm just gonna do like a little organic line. So I'm dropping in, this area should be wet because you just wet it. You see how the paint is?
Oh.
Ooh.
Oh.
So I just want you to take some black and just kind of organic lines, like a little bit wavy, no big deal. Doesn't have to be perfect. Yeah, I love it. Looking good. And the next thing I want you to do is where you, so like you can kind of see this area. This is where like the edge of the wetness is. I want everybody with that same amount of color value, you might need to get a little more color. I want you to just paint a circle.
Just paint a circle.
Be a big one. Just paint a circle. So I'm outlining a circle here. I'm sorry, outlining a circle, not painting a circle. You see that? So this is where we're using negative space to show a crater.
Oh.
Yes. And let's do a second smaller one right above it. You can kind of like perfect your circle a bit, right? You always want to start big and then you can pull in to make it a little bit smaller. And let's do a third one right here. Let's do the small circle right here.
Little bit of water.
Yeah. A little bit of water. And then, so I apologies. We're going to move quickly here, right? Because we want it to still stay wet. So
yes,
just get some water on your brush and we're going to try to pull the paint there. So I'm just wet brush. I'm going over the areas that have paint on it and I'm just pulling it towards me so that we can do some more wet on wet painting.
Got it.
Got it. So I just kind of did this little bit of shape. I went around the craters that we just did and I'm going to pull it upwards. And what I want us to do is get a lot of black on our brush. So all I did was just dip my brush into the black paint and I want to line the area. You see what's happening?
Ooh.
That is wet. Ooh. So this is great, right? Because it's making a very apparent line. Yeah, and then it's bleeding inward, which is great, which is what we want.
I feel like my paper is a little bit dry. I'm in the desert, so it's drying up pretty fast here.
My motto too is when in doubt, more water.
Mo water.
Mo water, please. And actually, while we're at it, this might already be dry, but let's get some more of that black paint and let's actually line these craters. If your paper is dry already, that's okay. I would line it and then I can show you how to blend it outwards.
Oh my gosh, that looks so beautiful.
That's
So
so
if mine's
beautiful.
kind of more on the gray side, does that just mean that I'm not using enough pigment?
Yes, yeah. So if it's a little more on the gray side, then get more black, more paint on your brush and less water to get these like really apparent lines. And we're gonna do a couple layers of these. So if you're not getting as dark as you want it to be, that's okay. We can go back and do a little bit more.
Okay.
Yes. Yes. And so from here, and I'm kind of feeling like I want to add a dark area above the, like kind of diagonally from these circles, so, or these craters. So I'm going to get some more black paint. I'm going to do a circle here. And I'm actually going to fill this circle in.
Whoa, you just went right in.
I just went.
It's very scary.
Don't be scared. Don't be scared. It's okay. And we can always, like, this is really organic, really easy. We can always lighten these areas up later. Like there's a lot of different things we're going to do. So let's see, I just did that. I'm going to do a second one here. Oh, that's a little too much water. That's okay, actually. So I'm gonna do a second circle here.
Oh, I like this.
Oh, yeah. So it's all about the wet on wet painting so that like the water is pulling the paint and it's blending, right? Like we don't want a ton of, like this is going to be a very apparent line, but we don't want a ton of that, right?
Yeah.
When we're thinking about painting the moon.
So like half of watercolor is just expecting it to do its thing.
Yes. Yes,
okay.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it will do its thing as long as you prepare your brush and paper for it to do its thing, right? So if you're going to put clean water down and you're like, I want some blending coming after this, that's when you're going to put your paint in, right? Like you're prepping your paper to get the effect that you want from your paint.
Got it.
Yes. So from here, I'm actually going to get that light color value, get a lot of water in that light color value. And I'm going to kind of do the same thing. And actually we can turn our paper. If you're right-handed, this is nice. If you're left-handed, you're probably going to be more comfortable doing it the other way. But we're going to basically do the same thing. So I have that light color value, right? And I'm going to line, instead of clean water, I'm using this gray.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to line the moon. And then let's kind of do the same thing. I'd like to outline I'm going to take a dark, like black paint, and I want to simply line the edge so that we get kind of a cool outline happening here. And if you're not using enough water, you can always blend it out after. The best case scenario is to always have enough water going on here for the water, for the paint to blend inward. But if you don't and you're getting a line, wet your brush and simply pull it across.
Oh, that's how you do
right,
that.
Like that
like
line.
soften it up.
So you can pull it in.
Got it.
Yes, soften it up. Exactly. Like you're blending it back in. Yeah. And then I'm actually going to turn it back around. It's helpful to turn it, right? So that the tip of your brush, right, you can get that perfect circle. So I'm going to turn it back around, and then I'm going to start adding a couple more of those craters, right? So let's get the gray, and let's do a couple of circles here. Maybe right here. I know this area was a little wet in the first place. That's okay. If you can't see it, you can also just use black. You are going to align it anyways eventually. So I'm going to do that. Let's do a second one. How you doing?
I'm following along, and like I had all these questions I was going to ask you, but I feel like I'm actually just sitting here taking a private workshop from you, and I'm like, absorb all the knowledge. Absorb all the knowledge.
Do it. Get all the knowledge. Do the things. No, I know. I know this is so much. I do. It's hard because then it's like, with the moon, you just have to move so quickly. It's all about that
Yeah.
wet on wet. So you're just like, so I'm sorry, I'm darkening this area.
Okay.
I'm darkening this
So
area.
do you always add dark on wet?
I try to, because I don't want, we will do some details later, but for like the base of this moon, I don't want those very obvious lines. I only want blending, right?
Okay.
So that's why I pretty much try to put water down first so that we get those really cool blends. And then for the most part, I just like to, so back to the gray, I just like to fill in the rest with this gray, and then we can kind of play around with this too. So I'm trying to see if I should add any more craters. Maybe we do one more right here, and then we'll fill in the rest of this moon with that really light gray. So this is what I mean when I'm saying we're using negative space, right?
Yeah. So you're just you're taking a clean-ish brush and you're pulling that ink.
Correct. Yep. Pulling that ink just to fill the rest of the moon. And something I want to do down here, so the belly button is going to live right here.
Okay.
And it's going to be in white, right? So whenever I think about using white, I want to make sure that that area is dark so that white will really show up. So let's get the black, like really good dark color value black, and make sure this area is wet, of course, as well. Let's line the bottom here. And we're going to pull up that color as well.
Ooh.
Ooh.
My belly button's going to be dark.
Yes.
My moon is like an alternate universe moon.
It's like Spider-Man.
It's like a Spider. It's like the moon on, is it Tatooine?
Tatooine. Is that
so? It's like
the moon black though? Isn't it like very orange? Oh no.
You know, I feel like that might be the atmosphere.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think everything is orange. And then, yeah.
I think that's Lucasfilms taking liberties with planets and moons.
Yes, I agree. I'm 100% behind that.
Yeah. My moon also has a little cyst right here.
I see it.
Yeah, you know, we're trying to have a body positive moon, and we're embracing all of my moon's imperfections.
We are. So listen, doesn't have to be perfect. Moons are beautiful just the way they are. Okay, so we kind of have something that looks like this. Great. Okay, so I know everyone's like, this is the thing with watercolors. It's all about layers.
Yes.
Right? Like I feel like every time I paint something, and maybe it's like a custom piece, and you know, I'm like really nervous about it, and I'll paint the first layer and I'll be like, oh my gosh, I quit. Who even gave me money? Right? Like who am I? I'm not doing this anymore.
That is every single time I painted with watercolor.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's validating.
Yeah. I'm glad because you're just looking at it like, what is this? And then as you add the second layer, and then the third layer, and then the fourth layer, you're like, oh,
it's starting to come together.
Yeah, you're like, this is great. So I talk about basically a general idea of 3 layers. So your base layer, which is what we just did. Your second layer is like highlights, shadows, any sort of like, I don't want to call them details, but any sort of like shading or anything that you need to make. And then the third is detail layer. So that's like the contour lines on a flower, or you know, the veins on a leaf, right? Like the detail layer is like, every layer is important, but the detail layer is really where you're like, oh, that's what I wanted to paint. So we just finished the base layer. So I know if you don't feel like it looks like a moon yet, that's okay. We're going to do another layer of sort of some shading and different things. And then once that dries, we'll do our detail layer.
Okay, I'm ready.
Okay, let's do this. Okay, so every time I paint a moon, I kind of look at it and I think, okay, what could we use here? I'm glad that we darkened the bottom corner for where the belly button will be. I'm thinking, I actually feel like this is pretty good. I do maybe want to add a couple more of these circles, and it won't be with negative space this time since we've already painted the whole thing. So let's go ahead and wet our brush and get some black. So not too much water, right? We want this to be pretty dark.
Okay.
And if your paper is still wet, that's okay. We're gonna get some nice like blendy circles, which is fine. I'm thinking so we're just gonna do the outline of circles. So I think I'm gonna add like a half circle here.
Oh.
Oh,
Hey now.
girl.
Okay. Okay.
Yes, yes. Let's do one right here. Right, so we have like some opportunities to get a little creative. I'm gonna do one up
Which
here.
is scary for a lot of people.
Yeah,
So
it can be scary. It's scary, I think, for all of us, right? And I feel like all of us do this where you're like, do I add or do I not add? Like the hardest part is stopping.
As Tim Gunn says, you have to edit yourself. And I'm like, no. That's why I feel like I would have been like a really good drag queen, because there's no need to edit. You just go ham.
You go ham.
You buy that wig and then you make it bigger. That's what I'm all about.
There's only one speed and it's fast. Like I'm all about that. All about it. So yeah, I struggle there too. Lots of I'm just gonna do it. I'm gonna go all in, and then sometimes I'm like, why'd I do that? I don't know. It's okay. I'm gonna do go ahead. Yeah.
Oh, I was just gonna ask, like, for those at home that are using the palette, so this paint was provided by Eunice, so thank you very much. If they're getting like watercolor off some clearance rack at Michael's, will it behave the same way? Do they have to do anything different?
Very good question. So these are tube watercolors. I have them right here. They're Daler Rowney Aquafine. So we squeeze them out, right? So these are tube watercolors. There are also dried watercolors that come in little cubes or even like circles, so palettes. And there's also liquid watercolors. All of them behave a little bit differently as far as prep. Liquid watercolors are literally like in droppers, and those are great for blending. I will say I have used much liquid watercolors for galaxies and moons because of all the wet on wet. Like you can just put water down and literally drop in black and it'll just whoosh. So they do all behave a little differently as far as preparing them. But overall you should get the same outcome. You just have to kind of be flexible.
Cool.
Yeah. Cool girl.
That's what all the cool kids say.
Yeah. I haven't been outside in a while.
I know. I don't know how to act sometimes.
Who even are we? I don't know. It's fine. It's fine.
Everything's fine.
Everything's fine. So I instinctively want to add dots right now, but let's do our belly button first and our eject dot, and then we'll add our dots. So go ahead and grab your white jelly roll. Ooh. Shout out to Sakura.
Yes.
Okay. And I like to test it out a little bit. I'll test it on my washi. Yeah, there we go. And so I like to turn I'm trying to think. I like to turn it so that I can easily draw. It's basically an oval. So it's going to be an oval right here. So bottom left corner. I'm going to choose right here because it's a little bit dark. So it's just going to be an oval like so. Oh, come on, jelly roll.
Did I do it the wrong way?
It's okay. It's okay. My jelly roll is taking a second. Let's see.
Oh, I always have to do the napkin. Draw on a dry napkin trick. I wonder if I had left it open for too long last night. That's okay. It should come out. So yeah, it's an oval this way. That's what it should look like. And then we're going to start drawing our ejecta. So I'm following the contour of the circles. So my first line is going to be like so. And you're just going over the whole thing.
Yeah, so I'm coming out here and so we're going to vary. Some will be long, some will be short. And I just want to test this out again. Okay. Okay. So there's that one. We're going to do a shorter one here. So you see what I mean about like how this area should be dark so that you can really see it?
Ah, yes.
Yeah, that's important. And so, and if you can't see it as much, that's okay right now. We'll go over also with some black, so it'll be good.
Okay.
So
we're
going to
go over it with black after we write with it in white?
Yeah.
Oh
we're not going to go over the whole thing, but we're going to do some like black shadows.
Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, so this is following this side of the curve. I'm going to actually right here, I'm going to switch to this side of the curve, right? So we're going to do this. And then let's do a really long one here. Ooh. And if your paper is still wet, that's okay. Like I said, we can always go over it later. Turn my paper a little bit. And then here's where you're going to, it's going to start tucking behind the moon, the area that we can't see. So I want you to kind of angle it a little differently.
Okay.
Then I come down like so. We'll do a short one. And then we'll do one more right here. Ooh, girl. Is it happening?
Ooh, I got a belly button.
Yeah.
Although I did the thing again where I wasn't watching you and I jumped the gun and now my belly button is like, whoa. But I'll fix it.
Whoa.
I'll fix it.
It's
Don't
okay.
worry.
Listen, all belly buttons are different.
That is true.
Right?
You're dropping some serious science knowledge today.
I know. So. Human anatomy.
I know.
Circumference. It's real. Smart girl.
Yes.
Ish. I know you said I could.
That's why we're artists.
Yeah. Exactly. That's right. That's right. Okay, so we're gonna do one actually at the top too. This is gonna be a little less exaggerated. So this is like, I don't know, the second belly button. So I'm gonna do a smaller oval, and it's kind of light up here, so it might be a little bit hard to see, but I just did a small oval this way, horizontal this way. And same thing, just kind of a couple lines, a couple ejecta. I know it's not as easy to see, but that's okay.
That's okay.
Yes, totally okay.
Wow.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. So a couple details there. And what I want us to do now is, since we have our jelly roll pen out, is let's add some white dots. So this is kind of fun. You can kind of just add them wherever. I like to find, like we're talking about, the darkest areas, and I'm literally just like putting a little bit of pressure on the tip of my pen to create dots.
Oh.
And I might have to fill it in a little bit. I feel like my pen is a little dry. So
sometimes jelly rolls, yeah, like you got to really get that ink primed and
rolling.
Yeah.
I think it's.
But once you get it going, they're pretty amazing. I use them as whiteout because I'm a terrible speller.
Oh.
And every time I'm in my journal, I'm spelling things wrong all the time.
That's okay. Listen. That's what
it's kind of like part of the charm of Bobo. Being a bad speller and I don't use good grammar.
You purposefully skip spell check. You're like,
yeah,
off brand. Spell check is always not my brand.
It's a goal to see how many red squiggles I can get on any one thing. Because more is more. I don't know how to edit.
More is more. I like that. Better. More is better.
More is better. I'm over this minimalist. Give me maximumist.
Oh, my best friend and I have this thing called maximization anxiety. It's basically that rush you feel when you go to a sample sale and you need everything, even though it's ugly.
Because it's a good deal.
Yeah. And then you like fill your bag and you leave with neon yellow.
Yes.
Everything. Although I do like neon. I feel like we've had this
I am
conversation.
actually very familiar with that. Don't get me at any kind of sample sale.
You know, maximization anxiety. You know. So I also am thinking here, I'm just feeling it. I'm thinking about like doing a little bit of inner lining of some of these craters with the white. Ooh,
like a reverse shadow?
Yeah,
highlight.
like a highlight, exactly. Yeah. So kind of just like, especially the ones that you drew in, just the circles, not the negative space circles or craters. It's kind of a nice way to get a little bit of a depth there. And just FYI, we are going to do some of the same things with our black paint again. So, and you don't have to like, you know what I mean? Like you can look at this once we're past another layer and be like, oh, I want some more white dots. Like you don't have to feel like, you know, this is the last time you're putting white dots in.
Okay.
So,
it's a non-committal white dot.
Exactly.
Extravaganza.
Exactly.
Oh, I like how you did that where you like lined your dark with dots.
I'm just looking for those opportunities, right? Where I can line. So once you're done there, you can get your brush again. And what I'm doing is I'm wetting it. Let me bring my paper towel over here. So I'm wetting my brush and I'm like using the side of the jar to get rid of the excess paint, water. And I'm just kind of like touching the tip of my brush to my paper towel so that the water is absorbing out, because we want crisp black lines and dots right now. So we don't want a ton of water.
Okay.
So my brush is wet, but I got rid of the excess, and I'm just gonna then simply touch the side, kind of let like the tip of my brush hit the paint so that I'm getting a little bit of that pigment there, and we're just gonna use the tip of our brush.
Okay.
And you can kind of take a look if it's like glistening and you're like, this might be too much water. You can do the same thing. Just touch the tip of your brush to your paper towel to get rid of some of the excess.
Okay.
Yeah. You ready?
Yes. I think so.
Okay, let's do this. So the belly button. So the oval, on the inside of the oval, I'm just gonna do like half circle just to, right, you see that? Just to kind of like, I'm not lining the whole thing. I'm just doing the top half. Ooh,
okay.
Too much water. And then I'm going to follow along under the white lines that we did with the jelly roll. So like a shadow. Oh, girl. So this is accentuating the lines. Even though we did already paint on black, this is just going to make them pop a little bit more. Or like, you know, right, like we were looking for the darker, we're making this area darker so the white would pop. But this will be a little more helpful as well. And I'm just like, it doesn't need to follow all the way to the end of the line, but as long as you have this center area down, then you're good. And we'll do the same at the top as well.
So how did, when you're coming up with these techniques on how to, of course, there's like a FedEx driver right outside as I'm talking. Hello.
I don't hear it.
Hello. Oh, you don't? Okay, good. There's no FedEx truck outside.
No.
When you're for like a newbie, like when you started doing your moons, is it a lot of trial and error? Are these kind of like pretty common techniques that are available?
I feel like it is. I feel like everything that I do is based off of experience. So I do feel like it is a lot of trial and error. And I'm always, as I'm painting, whether I am planning it or not, I'm always looking for ways to like accentuate different features of what I'm painting, right? Like if it's like the belly button, right? I'm like, those white lines just aren't popping enough for me. Like I need them to pop a little more. How can I do that? Oh, I can add a shadow or a highlight, right? So I feel like a lot of it tends to be like in the moment as you're going through, and then you start to instinctively think like, oh, like what if I add this, or what if I try this? So to answer your question, correct, totally trial and error. I know it's not like, it's not common, I think, in a lot of people's nature to like just try it and just go for it, right? Like you like don't want to ruin your piece. You want perfection. Perfection comes from making mistakes, right? Perfection
Yes.
comes from trying new things.
And perfection's no good anyways. You want nothing, and very few things in nature are perfect.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I think that's the thing to keep in mind is like, try it. Like maybe adding that outline this time might not be your favorite. So next time when you paint it, and that might make you, I mean, I feel like it's a whole cycle. That's going to make you motivated to try painting it again, right?
Yes.
You might even do it like right after. You're like, oh shoot, no, I'm already in the mode. I'm going to paint this again and do it the way I like, right? That's totally normal. And I feel like what I always like to say is, I'm like looking around to show you how many times I paint something. Oh, here's an example.
Oh yes, let's get a look inside.
Let's get
everything that you post is just so amazing. And as an artist, I know that that's years and years of experience. But there's also like the human side of things, which is, you know, we feel bad about what we create. We don't think it's good enough. We see every imperfection. And so we're gonna get a peek at what it's like
to see the many times. So okay, this is my final piece, right? Whoa, the sun. There you go.
Yeah, beautiful.
So thank you. It's the Waro cactus. I wanted it to be like really simple, but also have like depth, et cetera, right? This is my first try. I even taped off, look at the washi tape I wasted. This is the second try. You know, like I just didn't feel like I was doing these lines correctly. I just, you know, like, and I honestly feel like I have a couple more I just don't have right here in front of me. Like, things take many tries. Like if you, there's a lot of behind the scenes, right? That I think a lot of people don't see. And so, and that's okay. Like that's all part of the process. And yes, it's frustrating. Yes, it can be like demoralizing sometimes, but I feel like it is totally all part of the process, right? Like sometimes you have to take a break and not paint until tomorrow again, or not do whatever you're doing until tomorrow again. It just,
I actually had a little bit of a chat with Brittany when we filmed our piece for the other part of the kit. And she was also telling me how like she'll have stacks and stacks of like half finished projects that when she gets back to it, she hates or throws away. And I was like, I'm surprised that more like art dealers don't just hang out in the dumpsters of different art studios.
It's true.
Because sometimes we'll just like get rid of stuff that like other people find incredible. But I bet like digging through your scrap pile would be pretty amazing. But
no, and it is when you look back to, like, I'll very often look back and be like, why didn't I like this?
Yeah, I do that too.
Right? Where you're like,
yes.
And that's like a gem, because then you're like, I'm going to turn this into a print, or like, I'm going to, you know, use this design for something else. Like, God, I didn't throw that away, or whatever it is. Yeah. It's so interesting, right?
It's very interesting. But we're people too. So, and I guess this is probably this is a good time just to say, if this is your first time, like this is not my first time doing watercolor, and mine looks very different than Eunice's. And so for those of you, if this is your first time and you're not happy with it, that's okay. You shouldn't be a pro right out of the gate. So absolutely learn to, you know, a lot of kind of watercolor painting art is very like feeling based. You'll just kind of know once you start playing around with it. I'm even struggling to find like what's a good, you know, viscosity of the paint, how much water do I use, when do I pull away? So a lot of that just comes with practice. So if you're not happy yet with what you've created, like you should be happy, because you're not going to be a pro right out of the gate.
Yeah, and you're tomorrow when you paint, you're going to feel differently, or like the next thing you create, you're always going to feel differently, which is growth.
Yes,
which is awesome.
Yes,
awesome. So
life lessons with Eunice.
Ting. And Angie. Yeah. Ting. We should be on fortune cookies or something. Just saying. Okay, so I just got, we're gonna do dots now. So black paint, not a lot of water, right? We want very crisp dots. Right, so get rid of that excess water or paint if you need to. And then I'm just going to do the same thing. I'm just going to add some dots where I feel like it. And I'm doing it in the same pattern as the white. It's like, right? Like they're kind of close together and like kind of following the contour of other things here, like craters. I feel like this area up here is a little empty because it's so light. So this is a great place.
Okay.
Since the white dots, you can't see them as well, right? This is a great place to add some black dots.
Alrighty.
Yes. I have to warn you, the sun is coming in, and so I might have to shift in a couple minutes. So you let me know if you can see the sun on camera.
Oh, you're good right now.
Yeah.
That
Listen,
darn sun,
jealous.
you know.
Jealous.
The sun, I know.
Wants us to paint him.
It's like, why you gotta paint the moon when like I'm here?
Yeah. It's like
and with your last name being Sun, I feel like you're being a very bad ambassador.
I am being a bad ambassador. I'm sorry, Sun. It's like, use me when you want to.
Exactly.
Don't even paint my portrait, but it would just literally be the biggest blob of orange and red.
Yeah, with like a bright in the center.
Yeah, it would look like, you know, a very abstract peak. Sorry,
wow.
Yes. Yay. So the dots are kind of a nice little like character, I feel. Like just a little bit of fun to add here.
You know, freckles are way in right now.
Yes. I hope they stay in forever because
I don't know why they were out. I feel like I'm like, I'm getting sunspots. I'm like, are these freckles? No, it's just aging.
They're bigger freckles. They're special freckles. I have sunspots too.
I also have a lot of lightning bolt tattoos, which other people would say are stretch marks. And I'm like, no, they're white lightning bolt tattoos. Just all over. Yes.
Yeah, they're just they're white, so they're even cooler. I don't know.
Yes.
Like,
don't shine an ultraviolet light on me.
Don't do it. Black light party is not going.
Don't do it.
Don't do it. Okay, Angie, are you ready for the galaxy part?
I think so. I'm a little bit stressed. It's so hot in here right now. My washi tape is lifting a little.
Okay, we'll work quickly. We'll do this
quickly. I'll just do like sections at a time.
So,
okay. Which, I'm a little bit embarrassed because I believe this is my washi tape.
Oh my gosh, no.
It's really hot. I'm in an Airstream in the desert. It's real hot.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go.
Okay. We're gonna use a lot of water. So get your brush, get some water back and forth into this well with the black. And what I want us to do is
you're really going in there. Okay.
I'm getting, it's got to be like swimming. Like, let's do this swimming black paint. So what I like to always do is I like to paint around the moon first so that we kind of get that stressful part done, and then we paint the rest. So, right, it's always like a little stressful. So I'm painting with same way that we painted inside the moon. The very tip of my brush is going to go alongside the moon, and I'm actually going to leave a very thin line of negative space. So not to make this even more stressful, I'm not going to touch the moon, but I'm going to get really close to it. So take your time.
Is your paint is your paper wet or dry?
Dry. It is dry this time.
Dry. Okay.
We'll actually be blending out the black paint because it will leave a very obvious line because we're going to be working on other parts as it dries. But
I'm going to move my camera a little bit closer.
Yeah.
People can see. This is also the point where I sometimes, because I'm so used to working on the iPad and using the finger gestures, that sometimes I'll do this on paper.
Oh my God.
So like zoom in and then I realize I'm on paper.
Yes. Or I do that on my phone too. I'm like, what? Undo. I don't want to shop at Old Navy right now. And on my phone, I'll be like, no. No. The trash. The
khakis are not a go-go right now. Oh, yours looks. I can't tell if it's. I can't tell if it's just the exposure or how the camera is, but your black looks really dark.
Oh yeah, if you can get it as dark as possible, try to do that. If not, that's okay. We can, like I said, layers. We're going to go over it. And I'm trying to leave a negative line, but I'm not very successful. It's okay if you are having trouble too. Just try to, for the most part, get as close as you can to your moon.
Oops. Okay, I'm gonna redo my washi, y'all.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because it's
there,
just
that's a good
getting in my way. But let me finish this here thing.
Yeah.
So while I'm doing this, and I will re-washi, tell us a little bit about. So I know Eunice from following her on Instagram, and then I met her through a mutual friend, Rachel Strauss of Woodburn Corner, who's amazing. And then I got to know you a little bit more because we're both part of the Mixed Book family. We're both artists for Mixed Book. But you are also, you know, not just an artist, but you are a published author. You have your own, like a real book. This isn't some like, I made a book and, you know, put it in my local library without telling anyone, and I printed it at FedEx Kinko's. Well, there's no shame in that. You got to do what you got to do. No. But you are like a real capital A author, and you have an incredible book called Watercolor Botanicals. But can you tell us a little bit about that and kind of your love for teaching people how to paint? Because I feel like that's you know, it's one thing to be really good at a skill, it's another to be able to teach it. So I'd love to learn a little bit more about your book and your watercolor you know, kind of adventure and teaching.
So I had mentioned earlier, I feel like I remember being really inspired by Rifle Paper, who is not, when I started to paint, right? Like florals and a lot of, you know, fun botanicals. And then I felt like I just dove in. I was like, I'm all about these botanicals. And my favorite thing to do was to paint house plants, like literally plants in pots in houses, right? Like I would Google house plants. And I laugh now because I'm like, house plants are actually plants that are from the outside that us humans have brought inside and now have made our own pets like we do everything. So I think for me, it was the idea that I could paint like a pot, and there's so many super cute designs and like ways you can pot plants. So that was really fun for me. So I really took that and I started running with it. And I got the opportunity to teach at a local stationery paper goods shop called M Lovewell in Santa Ana.
They're one of my favorites.
I know, right? And they gave me my first chance. I remember going in and they were incredible. I mean, I was like, I will admit I was over prepared, and I was like, this is my eye. This is how I want to do this. What do you two think? Mel and Liz are teachers, right? I was tell me your ways. And so they were incredible mentors, right, in helping me start my first workshop and get it prepared. And then it just went from there. And
that was your first time teaching? You got into M level your first time. That's incredible.
I did. I mean, and I like so much appreciation for Mel and Liz because they believed in me. They had no reason to, right? That I was like, you know, like this is my first time. So when I think about it, you know, I do have a background in business. So I think, and I work for a higher education company. So very versed in sort of the learning science experience for students, especially like as it's evolving. It's evolved a lot over the last couple of years, including this year. And so I think I took a lot of my experience from there and was able to pair it with my, you know, my passion for watercolors. So I think that was super cool. And the whole lesson I want people to learn is like, I'm not technically trained. I didn't go to art school. And I was able to learn how to do this. And all it really takes is commitment. And it especially in days like this, like it takes you making a very intentional move to set aside time, right? To be creative, whatever way that is. And it's so hard. Yeah, and people think it's easy, and I think it is easy for some people, but it's hard for a lot of people, especially when you have so much going on. But you can learn anything in, what is it, like there's like a number of days or a number of hours, right? You can perfect or get really good at anything as long as you commit to it. And
Yeah.
so what I want everyone to take away from my workshop or my book is that you can do it. It may not, and so much of what we've been talking about, like it may not feel like, you know, amazing fireworks and stars and glittery things out the gate, and nothing will feel like that when you first start, right?
I know.
And as long as you put in time, and as long as it still brings you joy, then keep doing it, and you'll be so impressed by yourself.
Yes.
Like, wow.
And that's an important thing, is if you're hating it because you are expecting to be somewhere, then maybe it's just not the hobby that you pick up. So, because if you're really into it, you like actually kind of get excited to see that progress. Instead of, there was like a saying that says, no one learns anything from fast success.
Yes, that's so true, because you have no in fast success, you don't come across challenges, and the challenges
like
is
luck.
really how you learn. Yeah, it's luck.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Yes. I'm going to shift over a little bit because the sun.
Okay, don't burn on me.
Getting jealous. I know. I'll try not to.
Okay, I'm ready to go.
Okay. Oops, sorry. I have a laptop stand, and it's one leg keeps falling off of it. That's where we're at, everybody. 3-legged laptop stand.
Super professional operation. We're basically like HGTV.
We are.
Yes.
Just so everybody knows. See, it doesn't take a lot. It just takes a 3-legged laptop stand.
Yes.
And some finessing. Okay. Cool. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
You're ready. Okay. So we've done the outline, and then I'm actually going to start blending up to the left, and then we'll start blending down to the right. So the reason why we're doing this is because we're going to add like a blue burst here in our galaxy. We're going to blend up this black, add the blue burst, and then pull it out to the corner. So
okay, sorry that we had to wait for me to fix my paper, because now I'm worried it's dry. Okay.
No, it's all good. This is great to learn the blending too, right? Like how to get a really
that was actually
strong
part
line.
Of the plan.
It was. I like it. Best segue ever. Yeah. So, okay. So get your black paint, and then all I'm doing, and you want like dark color value, right? We're trying to cover and blend out this black, right? You can even see kind of, can you see? You can kind of see my line here. So we're trying to get that out of here. And I'm going to do kind of a diagonal little pattern here, because I want to drop some blue here as well. So start with your black. Yeah.
And you already started going over your washi.
I did. Yeah. My washi. I'm moving over my washi tape. And so now that this area is wet, right? We want to do some wet on wet. So clean your brush, and then let's activate that blue paint. So I want heavy color values. So I want, some thick paint on your brush. A little bit more water, so there's some blending. And I want you to simply really use the belly of your brush to do a little bit of and you're basically overlapping the black that you had just put down. So you should see some blending happening there. We're going to do a couple layers of this, so don't worry if your blue isn't as bright as you want it to be.
Okay, I already messed up, and I had a little bit of black in my blue.
No, that's all good. It's all going to blend together anyways. Yeah, we're going to go over it a couple times so you can get that like really bright blue look. And actually, I'm going to take my black, and I'm going to drop in. I want it to really blend, right? I really want it to like bleed into each other. So I'm going to take my black and actually go over the top of this as well. And I'm like wiggling my brush, right? I don't want a straight line. I want it to be really organic.
Okay, yeah, I'm kind of just naturally doing this dabbing move.
Yeah, that's
because totally, Yeah.
You don't want it to be like, we're not like painting a perfect, right? So we're doing a watercolor wash right now. We're doing a watercolor wash background. That's essentially what we're doing. In some cases, you want that wash to be super even, right? Like all the colors super even. We don't want that here. A galaxy is like lots of depth, right? Like some colors, stars, all sorts of things. So this is kind of the cool thing about painting here, is that we're not looking for a super flat, even look. So I just took more blue to go over that blue area. And I'm like kind of letting it wean off right here. So I'm like letting it thin out. So you're getting that like burst, like Star-Lord's gonna come out of there.
Yes.
Right? With his
pew pew pew. Pew pew pew.
Pew pew pew. And then his Walkman. Yes.
So the lighting in here is pretty bad for me, but which I'll color correct when you see the final, but the blue is looking very cool.
I can see it. It looks good. It looks good. So now I'm filling in the right corner. All I'm doing is just black and water. I am trying to blend out, right, these hard lines here.
Okay.
And I'm going to continue down. So you can alternate from left to right, but we are going to do a pink burst right here. So just know that.
Okay, so leave a little room. Got it.
Yeah, leave a little room, and I'll stop us once we get there, but I'm just going to fill in the rest of the paper. If you haven't already, right, make sure that you've pressed the inner edges of your washi tape so that you get a really crisp black line when we peel, which is going to be a lot of fun. So I'm stopping this side right there. I'm going to pull down and probably stop right here for the pink. And actually, I'm going to wet this area too, so we get some blending happening with that pink.
So with watercolor, is it good to work like fast, or is it better to just be familiar with the materials and kind of, because I feel like you're going pretty fast. Is that mainly because you want to keep the integrity of the wet on wet, or is he just a fast painter?
Correct. So the reason I'm going pretty quickly, I grabbed the pink, by the way, is because we're painting wet on wet.
Got it.
Almost the entire not almost, I mean, pretty much the entire galaxy and the moon was done in wet on wet, right? Because the base, at least, right, of the moon, remember when we did all of the craters and all of the white to dark, or white or transparent, right, to the black paint, like we want all of that blending. And so that's why we're moving really quickly. If you're painting really from the start, like if you're painting like really crisp, clean lines, that's wet on dry. So you don't need to move as quickly, right? Like the idea is that we want the surface to still be wet to be able to get that blending look. Yeah, but that's a great question, right? So you will not do this all the time. It really just depends on what you're painting and the technique that you're using. And those are the two techniques. It's either wet on wet or wet on dry. So that kind of makes
you got a 50-50 shot of getting it right or messing it up.
Exactly. And as you've seen, like if your paper happens to be dry when you wanted it to be wet, you just add more paint and water. Like just re-wet that surface and you good. But, you know, for the most part, you want to try to get, right, like as much of that wet on wet blending the first time around. So I did the pink first. You can see some of the blending with the black into the pink. Yes, that looks good, Angie. And then the next layer, you're going to add that black under, and it should bleed right into that pink.
Okay.
Look really good. Ooh, And so as we're painting this galaxy, we really let our moon dry. So once we're done with the galaxy, we're going to let the galaxy dry and add anything else, any other details to the moon, which I don't know if we need any more details. Maybe we do. But that's what I typically do, is you tend to alternate between the subjects or what you're painting in your piece to let the other sides dry. And also, if you're really impatient like me, it's super helpful.
Yeah, you can use like a little dryer tool, right? Or is that
you can?
Okay.
So I'm kind of torn about that. The dryer tool that everyone uses is the embossing. Looks like a little hair dryer. And that is definitely a way, especially if you're in a time crunch. But I don't love the look of that. I feel like it lightens the watercolor pigment.
Yeah.
Right.
And it pushes things around, which kind of then you're like, wait, I just spent years coming to terms with the fact that the paint's going to do what it's going to do.
Yes.
And then you blow it everywhere.
Exactly. Unless that's the look you want, right? Like unless it's very intentional. Yeah. So I do think it's a great option if you're in a rush, but I prefer to let time dry my my pieces. And the other thing I'll say is, I mean, it takes days for me to finish a piece. Like there is rarely a time. Yeah, these days. Back in the day, easy peasy. But like these days, like there is rarely a time that I can really sit for an entire maybe hour or 2 hours to finish a piece, unless it's like 3 a.m.
Yeah. Well, because you work, you have a full-time job, you're also a full-time artist, and you're a full-time mom. And again, just the fact that you're sitting here for an hour and a half with me is like, I'm so grateful. I'm
grateful. Thank you. I told Angie in an email last night that this is the highlight of my week. So thank you.
You need to have better weeks then.
No. Stop. You stop it. Stop it right now, okay? No, amazing. You know what I'm thinking about doing? So take your jelly roll while your galaxy is still red. Let me see if this works. I want to add some white details that maybe we can blend in. So I want to see if I can, I'm just going to put some dots. I don't know if this will work. It might. I want to line. Oh yeah, let's put some dots under this blue burst, and it doesn't have to be perfect because we're going to blend it in. We're going to blend it with our brush. Yeah. So all I did was just line the bottom of that blue, and then get your clean your brush, get it wet, and then let's see if we can blend it in. And yes, we are blending it in. So it kind of like adds a little bit of a light highlight. And I don't want to see any of the dots, so I really am blending with my brush.
And you just used a wet brush.
Yeah, I just used a wet, clean brush. I'm gonna add a couple little white spots here. I'm not gonna do it all over the top, but I'm just gonna do here. And then let's just clean your brush again, because it's got, at this point, probably black and blue paint on it. So really subtle, but it should give you a little bit of a cloud highlight look.
Oh, yeah.
What's happening? And then do the same for the pink too. I wanted to see if we could try this with it still wet, so we get that blended look, and it looks like it does work. So again, kind of see how you feel about where you want to put these white dots, knowing now that they'll blend in.
Okay. What kind of like materials, and do you have like a paper brand that you kind of always use?
Yes. I really like, I'm pretty simple. I like Hanson XL, their paper pads. And then for 5x7s, I really like Strathmore does pre-cut. I felt like for a good couple years of my life, I was cutting paper with a paper cutter for some reason. Like, what was I doing? I don't know. But I actually really like to paint on this size, on 5x7. It's kind of like, it's the size of a card, right? Like it's it's like a kind of a perfect sweet size, especially for like little gifts or just to capture something, like even like a character or a man, or maybe one day the sun.
Or maybe one day. You hear that, sun?
You hear that?
Yeah, I'm also partial to like the smaller kind of canvas.
Yeah.
It's more special. I think once you try to do things at scale, like it can lose some of its charm.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, there's something about painting a little bit smaller, which is fun. Cool beans.
So, I'm really liking this wet brush with the jelly roll technique.
Yeah, you can do anything. Listen, there are no rules, right? Like if you find that you can mix your art tools, do it. There's often times that I'll do an acrylic background on a watercolor piece because acrylic is super opaque, right? I want like a really flat, opaque look. And so I'll do that really often too.
I'm gonna just add a couple more highlights.
Yes. As you do that, I'm going to scoot a little over more.
Cool. So also for, I noticed, so you have a really nice kind of, like my line around is pretty pronounced. And then it looks almost like too perfect, where yours has like kind of low points, high points to really give the sense that light's traveling around it.
Yeah.
I can always just go back in and add a little bit more black, right?
To blend it outward. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
And sometimes it does look kind of cool because it like highlights the moon a little more when you kind of see that black around it. But yeah, it's really up to your preference. But right, you can always blend out a little bit more too.
Cool.
Yeah. So I'm really digging the moon. I don't know if there's anything else I really want to add. I had mentioned earlier, like we could always add white, more white or more black, but I think I feel pretty good about this. This is a time where you could, right, add some more. Some of your, are there areas on your paper that are dry?
Yes.
Awesome.
Most of it is already.
Okay, good.
Like
that's
I said,
good.
It's very hot here.
In the desert, and it's really hot.
Yeah. This is not for fashion. This is to catch all the. Actually, I don't sweat, which is the funny thing. I just get really bloated and hot.
You've told me that. I'm kind of jealous, though.
I'm the only person coming out of like a spin class with a light gray shirt, bone dry.
Done. Oh my gosh, so jealous. Oh my gosh, you can wear light gray. That is the hard one. Yes. You can wear jersey gray.
I can wear jersey pastel colors. No one's gonna know. No one's gonna know. They're gonna know.
I'm very jealous. I'm a mustache sweater. I'm like all sweat here.
Me too.
Do they make that?
No, but I mean, I'm gonna keep wearing masks just for that, to hide my mustache sweat.
Listen, it works for us, so
exactly. You heard it here first, guys.
You heard it here first.
Mustache sweat.
There you go. Mask appropriate. Okay. Well, if your galaxy is dry, let's start putting our dots down. So actually, we can start with our stars. So our stars are going to be little pluses. So I always like to start with a little plus. So I'm going to start down here. So I'm just going to do literally, oh, come on. Okay, yeah. Literally a plus. And then I'm just actually going to kind of connect the ends. I'm trying to find like the right vocabulary here. Like it's like a skate ramp.
If you're trying to appeal to the roller skater in me, it's working.
I am. It is just like a roller skating ramp. See? Right?
Yeah, this is another reason why I can't do these workshop tutorial video things, because I don't know the words. I don't know.
I know.
Like I came up with this collaboration for the handkerchiefs, and I started this whole blog post about different ways that you can wear, or that I like to wear handkerchiefs. And as I was trying to describe how to fold it, I was like, you put the thing to the thing, and then in the center, but the other center, you fold it. And then from there, you can like twist it like clockwise, but going counterclockwise.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
basically, you would be the best origami teacher.
Yeah. So I commend, and that's why people are like, Angie, can you teach hand lettering? And I'm like, I don't know what the cross I don't know any of those words.
The ting.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Thing with the thing. So
I have learned that people actually understand. It's like when
they understand gibberish.
Yeah. Like when you're sometimes it's like, I think it's because we're human. Like there's like, I'll be like, this is a gummy worm shape, and it's the head of the gummy worm, but not the whole head. And everyone's like, oh yeah. And I'm like, cool.
Well, if we're gonna use food references, then of course.
See?
Yeah.
Food
So you take this
references.
handkerchief and you roll it like a Chipotle burrito.
Yes, not a hot dog, but a
No.
Chipotle burrito where you're a little irritated with the burrito roller because they could have added a little bit more meat.
Yes, you're not getting a raise by skimping on the rice and the beans.
But then you're like too embarrassed to ask for more. That's just not your mood for the day. And then so you just with a smaller
I'll straight
burrito.
up just watch and see how they're portioning out before I commit. If I see that there's a guy that's really measuring it out, I'll leave.
Oh, you go to the front of the line. You go to the cashier first, and you from there.
Or I'll just like hang tight and pretend I'm waiting for someone until another person replaces them on their shift.
That's pretty good.
Sometimes it's 4 hours, 5 hours. I'm just sitting there at Chipotle just watching.
But you're committed. You're like, I'm waiting. So
I mean, I take it very seriously.
I hear you. I'm all for it. I'm all for it. I've done some stars. Oh, I want to do one in the corner here. And you can do however many you want.
This is where like the editing gets tough for me.
Yes.
I'm like, more stars.
More stars,
sprinkles.
exactly. Yes, 100%. Me too. And so, yeah. And so my solution to that, by the way, is always to stop and to like look, like sit back and like, like look at my piece, or even like walk away and then come back and be like, okay, do I really need to add more? Do I need another slice of pizza?
Yes.
I need another glass of wine, right? Like,
are these rhetorical questions, or these are all yes questions?
These are all yes questions. Mm-hmm. But like to confirm for sure the yes, I usually walk away, or like maybe move on to something else and then come back and be like, okay, time for more stars. Confirmed more stars needed. So now you've done your big stars. Now let's do our little stars, which are dots. So it's kind of like how we did in the moon. I am just going to put dots anywhere I feel like. Yeah. And we're just going to like have some fun. And again, look for like those really dark areas. Think about lining your bursts. This is kind of fun. And I would go like all different directions so that you're not like following a specific angle. Like I noticed, so like these bursts are all diagonal. So I like to kind of offset that and like make maybe all the dots kind of go the other direction. You know what I'm saying? Did that make any sense?
I get it. I get you.
You get it?
So like, what are like the top three things that you think every beginner should kind of come prepared with before they start working on something? Or maybe not even the best things. Like sometimes for me, it's not like I know what I'm supposed to do. Don't tell me what to do. Tell me what not to do. So if there's like three things that you can think of that you wish someone had told you, or that you kind of like let every beginner know before they start, what would those things be?
That's such a great question. So I think what I ended up learning is I used to be super impatient. Like I never wanted to measure out my paper. Like when I say measure out my paper, like I have to, this is so true of lettering too. Lettering is the hardest, I think, is drafting, right? Like I would draft on my iPad and like create the composition, work on all that, and then go to my paper and put it on paper. And I hated doing that in the beginning. I was like, I don't need to do that. I can just do it. And
like, I just want to start. I just want to make it.
Yeah, I just want to start. Yeah, which is never a bad thing, right? Like that's a great trait to have, and like to just want to jump in and like get really excited about it. But it is worth it to do your prep work. It is very worth it to do your prep work, or else you end up working much harder than you need to. So right, like the lettering was right. It's so hard. It really is. I am still me, so I still feel that way, but I have like trained myself to like draft out things. That even comes down to like research. Like I'll find like multiple photos of something before I paint it, and I'll like study it. I mean, sometimes it takes like the night before me doing it because I know I'm going to paint something tomorrow. Like that preparation is definitely key. But then there's also, I mean, there's also a time for like just painting, right? Like just
Yeah.
trial and error and like having fun. And like there are times for different things, especially if you're starting to get commission work, or right, like you're needing to work on specific projects, like you need to prepare for those. But if you're wanting to just relax on a Saturday morning and just paint, you don't need to do your research for that, right? Like all balance. But that's probably like the hardest lesson for me to learn. So the drafting, and then when I paint something, I always measure a frame. So I'll use a ruler, and I'll do, my key is always 2 inches in on each side. So like the way this washi tape is our frame, I would always sketch out a frame, and then I'd always find the center of my paper, and I'll put like a dot there so I can see it, so that my piece is perfectly centered. It's got great composition. Or else if I don't do that, then it's like,
I am
it's all
terrible at that. I am really bad at that. I need to do more of that.
I need to do that. Yeah, no, I get it. I mean, it's hard. It's like, it's definitely like pulling teeth, but I find that once I do that, I feel better about work. I don't feel like, right, like time is of the essence, et cetera, et cetera. Yes. How are we feeling?
Good. I wanted to actually go back over. I'm gonna kind of fill some of that in if you don't mind. Is there more? See, this is me jumping ahead, Angie.
No, I actually think we're good.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm going to do this while I have a few more things that I want to talk about. Yes, so please, for those out there who don't follow Eunice, you need to like go and do that yesterday. So Eunice is like one of the funniest people I've ever met. I feel like if we were, I mean, we have gotten lunch together, and it was, an hour block on the calendar, and 4 hours later, we're sitting there trying to find my, what was it, my Enneagram? What is that what it's called?
God. Yes. Your Enneagram?
Yeah. Yeah. Which it turns out I'm like all of them, right? They're like, you're a little bit of everything.
No,
is that even possible?
I chose the wrong quiz to do, and I made Angie do it, and then it came out with 3 numbers. So it was a huge fail on my part. Apologies. Oh my gosh, wait, forgot one last step, Angie. Wait, let me say this real quick before I forget it. Get gold. Whenever you're done, get your gold, and we're gonna do the same thing. Dots.
Oh yeah, let's dot it up. Yeah.
Let's dot it. And then the last thing, so we'll do this all at the same time, but the last thing is I like to add a gold shadow to our stars, our bigger stars. So I'm just
plus
bottom right area.
Shadow, right?
Yes, yeah. That's it. That's gonna finish your piece. I forgot almost.
Oh my gosh, okay, the gold looks so good on this watercolor.
It does. It really does. You guys are gonna love this so much. The gold is such a nice addition.
So we used the gold pen on Brittany's piece, which you all have seen. And I was using the gold pen on wood, and I didn't even think you could draw with a jelly roll pen on wood. So that was very, very cool.
And it works? Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's the best. Yeah, this is
I love these gold dots. And if you don't have gold, like you could use, I mean, I know that Sakura makes like so many cool metallic colors. They have like a moon jelly roll, which is like colored metallics that are like blue and pink and seafoam green and all those fun colors. So
that would be perfect for this.
If you've got other things in your cabinet or whatever you store your pens in cabinet.
Yeah, that's right.
Your pen jar. Go ham.
Do it.
But, anyhow, so as I was saying, you're like one of the funniest people I've ever met. And like, and you're a new mom. Well, you're not a new mom anymore. I think after like 1 week of being a mom, you're seasoned. Like you don't get to claim.
Oh my God. I
Um,
still feel like a new mom though, for
do
sure.
you? I mean, I feel like I've learned
Yeah.
so much about, just the woes of parenting from watching your stories. Everyone needs to just go and watch your stories are the best, not to add any pressure or anything. But
Oh my
like,
gosh.
how do you find a way to like stay creative
Yeah.
while also juggling the stress of motherhood, the stress of work, pandemic,
Yes.
and because creativity is not something you can time. I hear
Right.
about like musicians in Nashville or in like other places, they book studio time and then they just crank it out and be creative. And I'm like, how do they do that? For me, it's
So
like it comes
insane.
in waves and I'm on a roll or I'm not. And so how do you
Yeah.
find time to be creative and then to create in that window when you're feeling creative?
Yeah, that's such a good question. It's a very tough.
Oh no, can you hear me?
I can. Did
Okay.
your AirPods die?
You did, yeah.
I mean,
Sorry.
we can send a car to space, but for some reason we can't get AirPods that don't die after like,
Yeah, for
know.
some reason. It's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. So true.
Come on, Elon. I'm putting this task on Elon. Yeah.
Get our earbuds to work for 10 hours straight. What are you even doing? Like,
Exactly.
I don't know.
Exactly.
So yeah, it is such a struggle. I struggle with this often. I feel like, and even even outside of motherhood, right? Like, I am such a procrastinator. Naturally, I'm a procrastinator. And I work really well under pressure because I'm a procrastinator, right? And motherhood has taught me that I don't have all the time anymore to just do what I want when I want to. And so everything has to be very scheduled out. And that has, I think this past year, it has been tough, right? Like when I had to tell myself, like, I really want to get this painting done, or like, oh, I'm feeling inspired right now, but I can't paint. Like it is, for a while, I felt like I was letting myself down, like I was like, right, like I can't fulfill what I really want to do. And it's all very in the moment, right? It's like right at this very moment in this hour, I can't do what I want. And then I would feel really bad about it. And then you tie in like social media and seeing everybody be incredible, right? Like all the time. And it's, I think we all know this, right? Like we're not seeing, there's a lot that happens behind the scenes, right? We're not seeing all the hard work that goes into things being done. We're also in this culture right now where it's like more, but in reality, like there are ebbs and flows to everything, right? Like maybe in your life, for example, for me this last year, my life was requiring for me to focus on my child. And yeah, it might have taken away from painting and creativity, but that's okay. That's okay for that time. And I think something that Kevin, my husband, mentioned to me the last time I was kind of telling him how I was like, I just feel like, I'm not creating enough. I'm not like living to my potential. Like I'm really frustrated. I'm seeing everyone do great things. He was like, do you remember when you were pregnant and you were writing your book and everything else was allowing you to do it? Right? Like I happened to have I don't want to say a lot of free time during that time, but like everything else fell to the wayside so I could write my book. Right. And during it, you're like, oh, like this sucks. Oh my gosh. Like you're just like, I'm so stressed. There's so much to do.
Yeah.
But like in hindsight, when I see that, or when I think to that time, I'm like, I didn't have a baby yet. Yeah, I was pregnant. There was not like a child outside, right?
Yeah.
Like
your plus one was not yet. Yeah.
Yeah. Was not yet plus one. I like everything, just the universe around me had just pulled back, me even really knowing it, for me to write the book. And that was amazing, right? Like, and so right now, and maybe the season I'm coming out of, maybe the last year. So the last year was really like everything else was falling back so I could spend this first year of my child's life with him. You know what I mean? Like it's so crazy to say that out loud and to be, And I feel like everyone always is like, you can't do it all. It's so true. You can't, something has to give.
Something
Yeah,
has to
and
give. And actually
something-
beautiful things happen when something gives. Because like
100%.
my cardio is anxiety, and I never feel like I'm doing enough. Or when I do things and then people are like, God, it looks like you're doing so much, all I can think about are all like everything that fell through the cracks, and like how that was maybe only 30% of my original plan. And so then like all of that just sits with me. And sometimes you just kind of like hit this wall, and things start to crumble, and they crumble to make room so that you can like kind of forge a path. And that it's a really hard thing to like come to terms with sometimes. But I think for a lot of creative business owners like ourselves, we get so accustomed now to knowing that like there's a minimum viable product that is good enough. And you know, as you get more experience, you learn to embrace that minimum viable product.
Yes.
So so like every time people love what I create, like they buy stickers, and I'm like, oh, that wasn't even what I had originally thought. If you love that, you would have loved what the other thing would have been if I put more time. But you know what? That's just not how things are created sometimes. And in a perfect world, I would love to just be a fine artist and spend my whole life making one thing beautiful. But yeah, the pressure of creating can be really, really immense. So I feel you.
Yeah, it's totally that way. It's so interesting. And I think like everything is hindsight, right? Like in a lot of the times, I think when we're in the moment and we're doing things, we tend to not think about the bigger picture. And it's crazy to see sort of how things come out.
Yeah. Or you think you're thinking about the bigger picture, but it's the wrong picture, which I do all the time.
Yeah.
I'm really good at focusing on all the wrong things. So
yes. And then you're like, oh, this happened. This is great.
Yeah, Harry wants to say hi, but she's sitting directly underneath me. Hello, so how are you?
Hello, Harry.
You know, well, now I feel like I have to.
Yeah, well, now
I'm watching this. You're going to be like, what is Harry? Oh, and why does Harry sound like that? I almost spilled my paint.
Well,
hello.
Hello, Harry. Harriet.
It's really hot in here.
Oh my gosh.
But her bangs are pretty fire right now. I mean, we could all learn. Maybe that'll be a whole monthly box. Will be bang hair by Harriet the Ween.
I would buy that for sure. Look at you, Harry.
Yeah. No.
For the record, I hear Angie's Harriet voice often in my head now. After I spent lunch with her and Harry, I hear her talk as Harriet all the time. And I'll say to myself, that's bullshit.
You know, it's really like bullshit. Yeah, she says she's always complaining. She's always starving. Sometimes I'll ask her, I'm like, Harry, would you like breakfast? And she'll be like, did I stutter? I'm freaking starving. So then I have to feed her. This is what happens when you live like alone in a remote place with your dogs, is you don't learn normal people skills. And then I have full-blown conversations with my dog where I'm both sides of the conversation, but like out loud. And Eunice has witnessed this, and she still wants to hang out with me, which I think is a pretty cool thing.
Because it makes me want you and Harry more.
Harry. It's kind of like a silent E. Harry.
Harriet. Oh my gosh. I'm not kidding though. I hear your voice narrating my day sometimes as Harriet.
I'm
like
happy.
If I said that anywhere else other than here, people would be like, what did you just say? You hear.
They don't.
It's fine.
They don't get it. Know. They don't even know.
Get it.
It's privacy. It's very 2021.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so now it's all dry.
You ready for the tape pull?
Do we get to peel?
Yeah, we get to peel.
I'm actually very excited for this.
Yeah, I am too. Let's pull our twin cameras down. See if we can do this. Let me see if I can focus my camera though. Okay.
Oh, there's my Harry washi tape.
Oh, Harry. Oh, now I can see it. Oh, it's so cute.
Yeah, it's so cute. Okay, so now,
cute, Harry.
Is there a good technique? I've heard a few things. I've heard about rolling. I've heard about peeling across, not up? Like, what's a good technique?
Oh, I don't have one. I don't have one.
Supposed to be the expert.
Sorry. Rolling.
Okay,
I want to
well,
know.
this is done now. No,
Yeah. You're kicked out.
pull the plug. Yep.
End meeting for all. End meeting for all.
Yes. And there's that weird moment where it's like still my face.
Yes. When you're like, bye, and then you're like trying to find the button. Leave meeting. Okay.
Bye, everybody.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, this is the money shot right here. And fun fact, if it has a little bit of bleeding, like there's a little tiny one, the jelly roll pen.
Right.
It's my favorite.
That's right. That whiteout. Oh,
Got that whiteout life.
yeah, that whiteout life. Angie did it.
I did it.
Shut
I did
Angie
it.
did that.
You know, I gotta say, the wet on wet sort of blew my mind because, you know, if I'm gonna like let it do its thing, I gotta just let it do its thing. And I feel like having a wet surface actually does that better because I'm not having to like work it so much.
Yes, 100%.
So that was really, really cool. Thank you.
You're so welcome. Yeah, we're meeting the watercolors where it wants to be met, where it will do the work for you. That's what we're doing with Bobo.
And I love the border. Like I love the negative space around it, and it's perfect. So for all of you at home that are making one, please post it and tag Electric Eunice or tag me, Bobo Design Studio, because we would love to see what you created. Please go and give her a follow at Electric Eunice. Why don't you tell us all the different places that we can find you?
Yes, you can find me on Instagram at Electric Eunice. My website's electriceunice.com. You can find me on TikTok. Not so great there, but I try.
I mean, I'm on TikTok all the time. I'm watching videos. I'm not making them.
Yes, we have this conversation. Yeah. No, there's no doing. There's only watching there. Like,
yes.
It's
And do you do any like Skillshare classes? Like, do you have any online classes anywhere or workshops that people can find you kind of in your neck of the woods? I know that we're not really doing workshops right now, but where can people learn from you? Like your book and tell us where we can find all that.
That is such a great question. I would like to do online workshops soon. So you can, if you follow me on Instagram, I will share all the goodies there. And let's see. Oh, you can find my book. You can find my book on Amazon, Target, and Barnes.
What?
I know.
I frequent Target. You know, I never look in the books though, because
I mean,
I don't read good, but I'm definitely going to go there and take a selfie with your book. And then I'll sign my name in it, and then I'll tell people to go and find your signed copy.
Oh my gosh, that would be, first of all, amazing.
I'm just going to troll people.
I've yet to see it. I've seen it online. I've yet to see it in person. So you let me know if you find it at Target.
I will. That's so rad.
Yes. But yeah, you can also find it. PSA, it's supposed to be available on Kindle, but it's being pushed back because COVID and people and things. So hopefully it'll be on COVID.
It's a very, very convincing explanation.
Sorry, yeah, staffing issues. I don't know what's happening in the Kindle world, but
yeah,
things happening. But yes, you can find all my updates and everything on Instagram, where I am there being ridiculous with Angie.
Yes, I love you so much, and you're the funniest human being, the most beautiful, funniest human being ever. I am so honored to have you here because, like, you're just #goals, and I love you so much, and I can't wait to see you in person. So yeah, definitely follow along, because last time we were so busy eating and talking that I think we got one photo and it was literally like shoving food in our mouths, and I was like, this isn't flattering, and I won't do that to her. But yes, stay tuned, follow Eunice, go and learn from her, or just like sit back and have a good laugh because she's so hilarious. But thank you again for joining us, and if they've got any questions, or they can reach out to you over DM, that's cool.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes. And yeah, don't forget to tag us in your work, and wash your hands, water your plants, be nice to others,
Wear
close
your
the window, brush your teeth,
Get your vaccine.
all that stuff.
Brush your teeth. Close your windows.
Close your windows, turn off the lights, you know.
Yeah.
We're trying to light up the earth, turn off your lights.
Yeah.
But yes.
Unless you want to live here. Dude. Here.
Yeah, exactly. Not
Paint
here
that
so much, but right here.
Yeah. Somewhere.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Eunice.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Angie. You're the best. All the love, 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 love.
Love you. And Harriet says hello.
Hello, Ari. I will get you some mustard.
Okay, I don't care.
Bye-bye.
Okay, bye. And I'll stop recording. Boom. Stop recording.